See what she's talking about.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Happy Monday. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I see a lot of us are very festive in our green. Peter Ducey, I like it. First today, I want to address the devastating tornadoes and storms that have impacted many states throughout the South and the Midwest.
What's up, Ghetto Girl?
As of this morning, more than 40 innocent lives have been lost, and many communities have been totally destroyed. The president...
Yeah, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. Like, it's been getting crazy. Like, these storms.
The president has been actively monitoring the situation, and the Trump administration is engaged with governors and local officials to restore affected communities and livelihoods. Everyone impacted is in our prayers, and President Trump is fully prepared to assist state and local officials as they recover from the horrific damage. The president has had a very busy weekend, making our country and the world a much safer place. President Trump ordered decisive military action against the Houthi terrorists in Yemen. These Houthi terrorists have engaged in piracy, violence, and terrorism.
Let me just say, I fully support what he's doing with those pirates, I would say. Like, they're making sure that they can't, like, transport goods to the United States and stuff like that. I like that he went over there and, like, showed them who's boss. Some people mad at it. I like it.
Against American ships for years under the Biden administration, costing billions of dollars and putting innocent lives at risk.
Because what's going on is, like, these, I call them pirates too. Like, they're forcing the ships to go around Africa. So that takes, like, more time, more money. So, you know, and we end up paying all that, like, extra costs because of that. And he's just like, nah, we got to send some people over there and do some airstrikes and show y'all who's boss. I like that.
Joe Biden's pathetic weakness invited these unacceptable attacks. But
Did she just say that? Like, Joe Biden's pathetic weakness? Like, yo, I like her.
But there's a new sheriff.
Hold on. She really just said that?
Joe Biden's pathetic weakness invited these unacceptable attacks. But there's a new sheriff in town, and his name is Donald Trump. And the world is officially on notice. America has a commander-in-chief whose peace-through-strength approach is unwavering and should not be tested. As the president said, no terrorist force will stop American commercial and naval vessels from freely sailing throughout the world. Houthi terrorists and their Iranian backers should not cross President Trump again, and the president has made that clear today.
Trump's not dealing with no terrorists at all. Like, no, you want to be a terrorist? You're going to find out what's going to happen to you.
On another important matter, President Trump signed a proclamation invoking the Alien Enemies Act regarding the invasion of the United States by the foreign terrorist organization Tren de Aragua.
And then we reacted to that yesterday. So it looks like a federal judge ended up suspending that and forcing the planes to turn around. So that's very interesting that judge did that. You know, he's trying to say that Trump is overstepping his boundaries, and like that act is supposed to be for times of invasion. And I mean, we are being invaded. You know what I mean? Like, people are coming in here left and right. Criminals are coming in here. It's a form of invasion. I think Trump is well within his right to use that act. I heard Tom Homan, he was asked about that, and he was just like, oh, well, they're saying that it's an old, I think a reporter was like, oh, it's an old law. And he was like, oh, it's an old law. The Constitution's older than that. We follow that. Like, so I don't know. I think these federal judges are in bed with these Democrats, and they try everything that they can to try to stop progress. They were okay with it when Obama was getting people up out of here, but now that Trump's doing it, it's a problem.
At the president's direction, the Department of Homeland Security carried out a counter-terrorism operation deporting nearly 200 violent Tren de Aragua terrorists, which will save countless American lives. Thanks to the great work of the Department of State, these heinous monsters were extracted and removed to El Salvador, where they will no longer be able to pose any threats to the American public. Tren de Aragua is one of the most ruthless terrorist gangs in the world, and they are responsible for some of the most heinous crimes that have occurred in our nation's history in recent years, including the savage murders of beautiful Laken Riley and Jocelyn Nungray. President Trump promised...
mind you, the Democrats couldn't stand up for the new Lake and Riley law. They couldn't stand up for the 13-year-old that was fighting cancer, had all those surgeries and operations. Couldn't stand up to him, for him, you know. It's ridiculous.
Laken and Jocelyn's families during his campaign that he would demand justice for their beautiful girls, and that's exactly what he did. As the president acknowledged during his inaugural address on January 20th, he pledged to invoke this act, and he has no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions. President Trump will continue.
In the comment section, I'm looking at the comments now. Y'all think we under an invasion? Like, do y'all not look at people coming into the country as invading the country? Me personally, I feel like they're invading America. He's able to use that law. That's my opinion on it. But, you know.
Continue his historic efforts to seal the border and prevent these illegal invaders from coming here in the first place. As the New York Times is acknowledged over the weekend, President Trump's policies are working. Here's how the Times summed it up. Illegal crossings.
Mark Maserati said, thug life.
At the U.S.-Mexico border are down to their lowest level in decades. Once crowded migrant shelters are empty. Instead of
another thing that people don't realize is like right around the border, hospitals are being overrun by illegal immigrants. And women who are like, let's just say a woman, an American woman, like giving birth, she has to travel I forget how many miles away from like the nearest hospital that is not overrun and flooded by illegal migrants to have her kid. It's like getting crazy, bro.
Instead of heading north, people stranded in Mexico are starting to return home in bigger numbers. The border is almost unrecognizable from just a couple of years ago, when hundreds of thousands of people from around the world were crossing into the United States every month, and scenes of chaos and upheaval.
I don't know, say this is way better than the first time he has the right team. I think his first time was pretty good. But I mean, I think he did good. I think that he's doing a lot better, like you said. But I think his first presidency was pretty good too.
Evil. This is the Trump effect in action. And again, those are the words from the New York Times. We didn't need a border security bill. We just needed President Trump. All of these actions taken together are contributing to a wave of optimism about the direction of our great country. According to brand new polling from NBC News, more registered voters say the United States is heading in the right direction than at any point since early 2004.
Yo, she used the New York Post to say that. Yo, Trump ties for highest approval he's ever had, as more Americans say U.S. is on the right track than any time in 20 years.
Americans support President Trump's common sense approach that's getting our country back on track in record time. Meanwhile, the president's critics can't say the same. That same new NBC poll also found that the Democrat Party has reached an all-time low in popularity. It turns out when you let your hatred of President Trump get in the way of doing what is best for America, the people reject you. Who would have thought? Joining us today in our new media seat is Kelly Meyer. She is a White House correspondent with News Nation. News Nation started in 2021 and is one of America's fastest growing cable news networks with a focus on news for all of America. It's part of a larger ecosystem, Nexstar, which is home to News Nation, the political website The Hill, the broadcast network The CW, and local Nexstar stations. With that, kick us off, please, Kelly.
Thank you, Caroline. What do you say to Americans who want safe streets but are concerned due process is being violated?
The president is using every lever of his executive authority.
What does she mean? Like, what do you say to Americans that want safe streets but feel like due process is being violated? Like, why is she saying that? Y'all know why she even saying that in the comments? Like, I don't know why she's saying that. Like, what is she?
Authority and his constitutional authority within the bounds of the immigration laws of our country to
okay. I see what she's saying. Fitton said, he's talking about somebody else.
Ensure that our streets are safer for law-abiding American citizens. And this administration is focused on detaining, arresting, and deporting illegal criminal aliens. And as you saw this past weekend, the president...
So what she said there, because a lot of people are thinking they're just deporting anybody and everybody. She's saying they're deporting criminal illegal aliens. But I mean, that would kind of, that's a blanketed, I mean, all of them coming in here illegal. Right, so if they're all coming over here illegal, then that will put them all in that category. You know, I mean, I say get them out. If they're not supposed to be here legally, get them out. One say streets will still be unsafe with or without immigration. That's not the problem. Poverty is more of a problem. I feel like if they can get some of these illegals out that have been committing crimes, like I think that would make the street safer. Anytime you remove crime, that makes the street safer. There's always going to be other dynamics to it, but you remove like some like illegal people that are committing crimes, it does make the street safer.
The president used his authority under the Alien Enemies Act to deport foreign terrorists. Tren de Aragua is now a designated foreign terrorist organization.
Another thing is, like, if we're not gonna, what's the point of having like citizenship? If anybody and everybody could just come over here. If you're not, like, the Democrats have been fighting against, like, deporting people. And they just want everybody to just come in here. And these people that are coming in here, they want them to vote Democrat. It's what it is. You know, so they want to give them, like, some of our services and give them some of our tax money and all of that. So it's like, why don't you just do away with the whole citizenship thing? Just let people come over here. If that's what y'all game is, because now you got a president that's trying to uphold some of these laws and trying to get some of these people out of here. And y'all are using federal judges to try to stop him at every turn. So it's like, y'all do not want to stop illegals from coming in here. So why don't you just change the laws to, you know what I'm saying? Like, if y'all really just don't want that to stop, you want them to just flood in here, change the law, change the rules. But while we got the rules on the books and we got the laws on the books, he gonna use them.
And as I said, there were nearly 200 Tren de Aragua members who were sent to El Salvador this weekend. Countless lives will be saved because of this action. And if you talk to the...
I mean, he's sending like gang members out and stuff like that. So it's like, the type of people that they're arguing for, like, and what... It's like, it don't even make sense. I could see if they, I mean, I can't even see. Like, if it's just somebody that ain't committing no crime and sitting here, you know what I'm saying, trying to make the best of their life and stuff. It ain't really that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's getting, like, a lot of these criminals out of here, these gang members out of here, these extorters out of here. Like, that's what he doing. Y'all want them to stay? It's like, y'all just love, like, they just love crime. I don't understand it.
Families, the Angel families.
But in my opinion, if you come over here illegally and you're not trying to abide by the process, you got to get up out of here, bro.
As I mentioned, Laken Riley and Jocelyn Nungray, they understand.
And then you never would have had a Laken Riley situation happen. You never would have had that happen. Like, if they would have abided by the laws and stopped all these illegals coming in here, you would never have had that situation happen. Then the problem is when you got people flooding over here from, like, different countries, you don't know, like, you know what I mean? It's like different cultures. You don't know how these people act. You don't know nothing about them. They come over here and they off you. And that's like a normal thing, like where they live at. You know what I'm saying? They come over here doing that. Like, no, like you can't just be having anybody and everybody come in here, bro. We can't just go to anybody's country and just stay there and be like, all right, give us some free money. Like, we can't be doing that.
Stand the grave cost of life at the hands of these illegal terrorists. And the president is proud to deliver on.
Angelo said, hey, my mama from Colombia, and she's pissed they let these people over here.
That promise for them.
And just to follow up on that, this will be challenged later today in the court.
Odetta White said, I wholeheartedly agree with you. The Democrats thought the immigrants were going to be able to vote Kamala, but nope, it didn't happen. The people who woke up out of their sleep finally. Yeah, and then like Joe Rogan was talking to Trump, and he was like, he's hearing that they're like busing in and flying in illegal immigrants into the no voter ID states. before the election took place. This is what Joe Rogan said. I didn't say this. What he said. They were saying that they were busing people in for Kamala Harris's rallies. Like, I mean, this is literally insane.
Does the president, does this allow him to defy the court order without having this the checks and balances and the separation of power?
No. In fact, this administration.
Somebody said that's a straw man. Not many people are saying that. We need better immigration systems. I mean, how many? We don't have the problem is we don't have enough judges. We don't have enough judges. So when people come over here and they want to like stay until they can like have their hearing and we don't have enough judges. Y'all got to understand, it's a lot of people flooding over here. You know how long it takes to become like a lawyer and then to become a judge? Like, it takes a while for all that to happen. They don't have enough of them. They can't hear all of these cases. Then you got all of these displaced kids and people like everywhere because they can't keep track of where these kids are. So that was like a problem where they, miscalculated and, didn't know where a lot of these kids were going because they was having them stay at these, like these people's houses and stuff like that. They would take them in, but then they would move and not report everything to the government. And then they didn't know where the kids were. So it's like the records were getting lost. This is how you got up to like hundreds of thousands of kids like missing. It wasn't missing like they were kidnapped or nothing like that. It was just like, a lot of it was just the people who were housing the kids had moved and they didn't report it to the government. So it's like, and then who knows, maybe they did report it and there's so many of them, like it got lost in the system. So it's just like, man, this whole thing is a mess. Like you need to stop people from coming over here. You need to deal with what you got going on here. People who got the hearings and all of that coming up, deal with the hearings. And then like, then slowly like, allow people to come in illegally. But other than that, you can't just be having tons of people flooding over here. We don't have the resources for all of that. And then you had, and you were given an incentive, right? You, New York Mayor Eric Adams, I'm not saying he was telling them, come over here and then we'll give you, it was just clear. If you were an illegal immigrant, you went to New York, you were getting $350 a week in food vouchers. That's $1,400 a month in food vouchers. If you're an illegal immigrant coming from a country that you're probably not liking the economic conditions of the country, and America is one of the richest countries in the world with all this opportunity, you see in all these movies and all these movies, so all this stuff, and a country is saying if you come here and you're illegal, we're giving you $1,400 in food vouchers and you can barely afford ends meet where you live at. Like y'all, I'm sure a lot of y'all have been to different countries, right? I've been to different countries. I've been to, Jamaica. I've been to, like London, I've been to, like Switzerland, France. I've been like a lot of different places, Italy. Like we get a lot of things right, but we get a lot of things wrong. I've been to Mexico. I've been to what Progreso, Mexico. I've been to a lot of different places. Some of these places, mainly like the Mexico type places, like them places, bro, like they're not like when you go to them tourist areas, like those tourist traps, right? You see like how destitute like some of those areas are. Yeah, they got nice beaches, but the areas that them people live in is not nice at all. Like they will do anything for money. And they hound you for money like all the time. So people want to get away from that. They want to go to where they feel like prosperity will be. And they come to America, they flood in here. And then when they flood in here, they make money and they send it back so that people can break into here. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like people think like, oh, well, they just come here and the money circulates in the United States and they get around to paying taxes. I mean, some of them may pay taxes in a roundabout way by buying stuff in America. But they're not paying taxes like you or me. They sending money back. So it's like, what y'all, like, come on, bro. No, they need to fix this situation. Stop all these people from flooding in here. You don't know who's here.
Acted within the confines of the law, again, within the president's constitutional authority and under the authority granted to him.
Then, like, when I say, like, we do a lot of things wrong, but we do a lot of things right. Go to Jamaica and tell me you want to live there. You do not want to live there. You might see a nice beach, but the infrastructure is tore up. There's potholes everywhere, like potholes the size of a small car. Like the roads are insane in Jamaica. The way they live, like, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why people be coming to America. They don't want to live like that no more. You know, but if you're going to come here, come over here the right way.
Under the Alien Enemies Act. We are quite confident in that, and we are wholly confident that we are going to win this case in court. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. If you guys can't send 200 Tren de Aragua terrorists at a time to El Salvador, where are you going to send them instead?
It's a very good question. You'd have to ask the courts and the people on the left who are trying to fight this administration for doing the business.
How are y'all Democrats, bro? Like, I'm like, hold on, Thug Life. How are y'all? Bro, they are trying to fight against American interests. Trump is talking about he wants to do no taxes on people that make under $150,000 a year. I've never heard a Democrat say nothing like that. How are y'all Democrats? I'm just asking. I'm not telling you not to be. I'm just asking, like, how are you? This makes no sense. Oh, he only cares about millionaires and billionaires. He's trying to pass the biggest tax break in middle class history. And sewing up, like, to where, like, billionaire, teams, league owners and stuff like that, as sports teams have to pay their fair share in taxes. Like, what is y'all, like, so what? Why do y'all not like him? I'm trying to figure it out. I don't understand.
That this president sought out to do, which is to deport these foreign terrorists. And we're very grateful to President Bukele and to El Salvador for accepting these heinous monsters where they will face justice.
And if these guys are terrorists at war with the United States, is President Trump considering anything more lethal to address them than just sticking them on a plane somewhere else?
Hey, the super chat and cash apps is open, man. I'm not about to be like reading all y'all the hates. You know what I'm saying? But you're paying for it.
Well, it sounded like you had a little bit of curiosity in the premise of your question, so I want to address it. These are designated foreign terrorists. The president signed a proclamation on February 20th, 2025, designating TDA as a foreign terrorist organization that was in consultation with the Attorney General and the Secretary of Treasury. That was pursuant to 8 U.S. Code 1189. The president has the right to do that, and I think nobody would argue that Tren de Aragua should be designated a foreign terrorist organization. If you want to have that argument, I'm happy to do it. These are heinous monsters, rapists, murderers, kidnappers, sexual assaulters.
But you know, Democrats want all these people in America.
Predators who have no right to be in this country, and they must be held accountable.
And something different.
Didn't they want to complain about housing costs going up? Like, rent is getting out of control. Well, if you got a whole influx of people moving in here, if I own my house, like, when I decide to rent, all right, I'm gonna rent to whoever can pay the most. If I have a house in an area, if it's being like overrun with people and people need places to live, I'm gonna raise the cost of my like right now. If I rent my house out, it's like $2,200 a month, $2,300 a month. That's what it says the market is on my house for rent. $2,300 a month. I'm gonna say $2,500 a month. Who gonna pay it? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that creates a problem. Then y'all get mad. Like, oh, rent is too high. Well, you got a lot of people here now. What you gonna do?
There is now a member of the European Parliament from France who does not think the U.S. represents the values of the Statue of Liberty anymore. They want the Statue of Liberty back. So is President Trump going to send the Statue of Liberty back to France?
Absolutely.
Wait, what? They want the Statue of Liberty back? Y'all ain't getting the Statue of Liberty back. Like, get out of here, bro.
Who have no right to be in this country, and they must be held accountable.
And something different. There is now a member of the European Parliament from France.
Okay, so it's a member of the European Parliament of France. He just, like, this dude just wants something to say. It's not the whole France. It's a member of the European Parliament of France said this.
Who does not think the U.S.
Who is that? She is bad. Who is this? She's kind of fun. Y'all see this girl? Lord. Draco with the $5 donation, also a member on the channel. Thug Life. Shout out to him. He said, Democrats, Trump, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? Said Democrat sheep, Trump, blah, 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 blah.
U.S. represents the values of the Statue of Liberty anymore. They want the Statue of Liberty.
My bad, y'all see her? Like, who is this? Like, can somebody find me that IG real quick? Do y'all magic research?
Liberty back. So is President Trump going to send the Statue of Liberty back to France?
Absolutely not. And my advice to that unnamed low-level French politician would be to...
I like how she said that. My advice to that low-named French politician who said that, yeah, it's a single person that said that. It's not the whole France.
Remind them that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now. So they should be very grateful.
Talk to him, love it. It's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now. Talk to them. I love how she said that. Now what?
To our great country. Kelly. The French are not speaking German right now. So they should be very grateful to our great country. Kelly.
Is the administration prepared to give the court what it wants in
I already signed up for my press pass. I'm just waiting to get that email.
terms of the time of the flights that departed, that went to El Salvador, and some of the...
Oh, you new to the channel. As soon as she said that, I got right on, like I was live. And she said that, I immediately signed up for it.
Those details that the judge is asking for in trying to determine the timing. Clearly, the 5 named individuals were not deported.
That's right.
Compliance, but looking more broadly, wanting to know about the timing of flights and so forth, because the verbal order did say turn around the flights if there's an issue. So is the administration prepared to provide that information?
I'm prepared to provide it right now. All of the planes that were subject to the written order, the judge's written order, took off before the order was entered in the courtroom on Saturday, and the administration will, of course, be happily answering all of those questions that the judge poses in court later today.
And for people who have due process questions about making certain that there wasn't anyone who was swept up who did not meet the criteria that you laid out, is there a way for the administration to provide more detail about how that was determined, who the individuals were that met this deportation order?
Yes, I can assure the American people that Customs and Border Patrol and ICE and the Department of Homeland Security are sure about the identities of the individuals who were on these planes and the threat that they pose to our homeland. They take this incredibly seriously. They are putting their lives on the line to deport these designated terrorists from our country, and they should be trusted to do that. And that's exactly what the American people elected this president to do. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. Just to follow up on that, then, so you're saying definitively that the administration can prove everyone that was put on those flights to El Salvador was either a member of Tren de Aragua, MS-13, or some other entity?
We've already provided the breakdown in the effort of transparency about the 261 illegal aliens who were deported. 137 of those were deported under the Alien Enemies Act. 101 of those were Venezuelans removed via Title VIII, which, as you know, are just regular immigration proceedings. And 23 of them were MS-13 Salvadorian gang members. There were also 2 MS-13 ringleaders as part of that group of 23 who President Bukele particularly expressed his gratitude for their return so he can demand justice in his home country. Jennifer.
What criteria, though, other than, say, tattoos or maybe being in the wrong place at the wrong time, are they using to determine that someone is actually a member of one of these organizations?
Intelligence and the men and women on the ground in the interior of our country who are finally being allowed to do their jobs. Their hands were tied under the previous administration, and as I said, they take their jobs very seriously. They should be trusted and respected by the American public with this operation, and of course, as I said to Kelly, the administration will provide all details to the questions that the court poses. Jennifer.
One more follow-up on that.
Hold on. Somebody in the comments section, Draco, is a member on here. He said El Salvador is not playing. They cuffing and making them crouch walk to the cell. They're cuffing and making them crouch walk to the cell. Interesting.
Can you say how much the U.S. is paying El Salvador to imprison these Venezuelans? And then a different question on Russia. I was wondering if you could give us an update on the ceasefire negotiations, and is there any...
Let's be clear, right? When we talk about illegal immigration or people coming in here like from different countries, we're not saying all of them are Mexican. Like that's what I think the disconnect is. People think people are picking on Mexicans. That's not what we're saying. They're coming in here through Mexico, right? But we're not saying they're all Mexican. That's not what we're saying. You know, like it's Africans coming in here through Mexico. It's a lot of people. Venezuelans coming in here through Mexico. It's a lot of people.
You can share on the list that Putin passed along to President Trump for the things he's requesting?
Sure. To your first question, it was approximately $6 million to El Salvador for the detention of these foreign terrorists. And I would point out that is pennies on the dollar in comparison to the cost of life and the cost it would impose on the American taxpayer to house these terrorists in maximum security prisons here in the United States of America. And I would echo the message of our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who expressed his gratitude to President Bukele and El Salvador's government for their cooperation in this deal. As for Russia, as you know, the president announced last night on Air Force One on his return from his very busy weekend in Florida that he will be speaking to President Putin tomorrow. I won't get ahead of those negotiations, but I can say we are on the 10th yard line of peace, and we've never been closer to a peace deal than we are in this moment. And the president, as you know, is determined to get one done.
Sure.
Sure, Caitlin.
I have
I
two
see y'all hitting 100. Shout out to y'all.
questions for you. One on the flights, but first on the president's post overnight.
First of all, before we continue, somebody get on this. What is her IG? Help me. She looking delicious over there.
Saying that he is the pardons that were issued by President Biden preemptively to members of the January 6th committee.
Oh, fake news is asking a question. Fake news. Is that MSNBC fake news? Hold on.
To get one done.
Sure.
Sure, Caitlin.
I have two questions for you. One on the flights, but first on the president's post.
Fake news. Take her question with a grain of salt. She's fake. This is fake news right here.
Overnight, saying that he is the pardons that were issued by President Biden preemptively to members of the January 6th committee, that they're now null and void. Have attorneys here at the White House told President Trump that he has the legal authority to undo a pardon simply because it was signed by auto pen, as he said?
The president was begging the question that...
Oh, okay. All right. So we're finding out that ex-President Biden signed a lot of executive orders with a auto pen or like a stamp, and so they're trying to figure out if they can undo, allegedly, like his pardons because they weren't really signed by him. So if they can like get that done, a lot of them people can be up for prosecution for some things. So that's like rumors that have been circulating around. And so the fake news did ask a question, right? And this is kind of what she's talking about, like how, you know, if this is a case, like, are they trying to remove like some of the pardons that Biden had initiated?
January 6th committee, that they're now null and void. Have attorneys here at the White House told President Trump that he has the legal authority to undo
the January 6th committee pardons are now null and void, right? This is what she's saying, like they're saying, all right? Because, you know, the January 6th committee, let me tell y'all about them. They shady, right? They have, remember it came out in the news, the January 6th committee, they lost a lot of documentation, lost a lot of records, and then they get a pardon, like, after they do all of that. Like, so I would hope they can do something and figure out how to, you know what I'm saying, get rid of them pardons and bring them up on charges. I wouldn't be mad at that.
To get one done. Sure, Caitlin.
I have two questions for you. One on the flights, but first on the president's post overnight, saying that he is the pardons that were issued by President Biden preemptively to members of the January 6th committee, that they're now null and void. Have attorneys here at the White House told President Trump that he is the legal authority to undo a pardon simply because it was signed by AutoPen as
So it was signed by AutoPen. Oh, y'all fake news, it got you, Biden. So it was signed by AutoPen. Okay, all right.
he said?
The president was begging the question that I think a lot of journalists in this room should be asking about whether or not the former president of the United States, who I think we can all finally...
All right, so let's get to this, right? We going to the fake news, right? Let's see what the fake news talking about. All right, Trump claims Biden's part in the January 6th committee members are vacant because they were allegedly signed with an auto pen. President Trump claimed late Sunday that preemptive pardon former President Joe Biden granted to members of the House Select Committee that investigated the January 6, 2021 assault on the U.S. Capitol are void and vacant because they were allegedly signed with an auto pen. However, the Justice Department 2 decades ago said the president can use an auto pen to sign legislation, and the Constitution imposes new limits on the president's pardon power. In a post to Truth Social shared just after midnight, Mr. Trump claimed without evidence that Biden, this is CBS, bro, fake news, bro. They always want to throw their little jabs. Mr. Trump claimed without evidence that Biden himself did not sign the pardons he issued to the members of January 6th Select Committee, staff members and officers from the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department and U.S. Capitol Police who testified before the panel. Biden signed the full and unconditional pardon of any offenses arising from the committee's activities on January 19th, 1 day before he left the White House. Others who received preemptive pardons were Dr. Anthony Fauci. Oh! You are so corrupt, Biden! You are so corrupt! Wait a minute! You didn't pardon for Dr. Fauci. I cannot. That is terrible. Retired General Mark Miley and several Biden family members, right? And he ended up pardoning Liz Cheney, the war hawk. What did Trump say about Biden's pardon? Mr. Trump claimed that the pardons his predecessor issues to the Select Committee members are hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force of effect because of the fact that they were done by auto pen. The president wrote that Biden did not sign the pardon and did not know anything about them, though Mr. Trump did not provide evidence about the circumstances surrounding Biden's clemency decisions. He said the selective committee members should fully understand that they are subject to investigation at the highest level. Representative for Biden did not immediately return a request for a comment. Of course he didn't, because they don't know what's going on. The pardons were issued to the White House members who served on the panel in response to Mr. Trump's threats on the campaign trail. I cannot read this fake news. It is fake. I can't. They throwing too many shots. They can't just say the news. They got to throw shots. The fake news is out of control, bro. They are out of control. But that's why she was asking that question.
Overnight,
Another fake news member. She was asking that question.
saying that he is the pardons that were issued by President Biden preemptively to members of the January 6th committee, that they're now null and void. Have attorneys here at the White House told President Trump that he is the legal authority to undo a pardon simply because it was signed by AutoPen, as he said?
The president was begging...
All right, so let's go to the BBC. They're a little bit less fake. Let's go to them. No evidence for No evidence for Trump claim about void Biden pardon and auto pen. President Trump has said many pardons issued by Joe Biden were void because the former president signed them with an auto pen, a device which reproduces a person's signature rather than by hand. Trump did not provide evidence for this claim, which has posed... You fake too, BBC. I'm sorry, you fake. They be throwing they little jabs. BBC Verify has found several instances of Biden signing pardons by hand rather than by auto pen. They are trying their best to protect him. I forgot y'all is fake. Y'all is. And a sample presidential signature is used on government documents when they are stored in the Federal Register. Digital archive. This was the case under Trump as well as under Biden. Legal experts also told us that there is nothing in the U.S. law which would invalidate pardons signed by auto pen. Did Biden sign pardons using auto pen? On Truth Social, Trump said, we already read that. Trump didn't specify which pardons he was referring to, but he has previously referred to the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th riots as an unselect committee and has criticized Biden for pardoning family members. BBC Verify looked through official photographs of Biden in the White House and ones posted on the official White House X account and found a number of examples of him signing pardons by hand. First of all, Biden has a fake Oval Office that was made up. Let me show y'all this, bro. So I don't like BBC. Y'all be thinking y'all. Hold on. Biden fake Oval Office. So I mean, like, was he in the real Oval Office or the fake Oval Office? BBC, which one was it? Trump's aide, Alina Habba, gives inside look at Biden's fake Oval Office. And this is New York Post. President Trump's top aide gave a behind-the-scenes look at the fake Oval Office used by former President Joe Biden during several photo ops that sent critics into a frenzy over the 46th Commander-in-Chief's health. Alina Habba gave her 500,000 social media followers a look at the Fox White House rooms the last administration used, including state-of-the-art lights, screens, and teleprompters. So,
the question that
Biden's been using our tax money for fake Oval Offices.
think a lot of journalists in this room should be asking about whether or not the former president of the United States, who I think we can all finally agree was cognitively impaired. I know it took people some time to finally admit that, but we all know that to be true, as evidenced by his disastrous debate performance against President Trump during the campaign. I digress on that.
Which even the other fake lady that used to be the House of Representative leader, Nancy Pelosi, even said that she felt like Biden should have stepped down before. She did not think he was fit. She felt like he should step down. She's fake. And they continue to let Biden run everything.
But the president was raising the point that, did the president even know about these pardons? Was his legal signature used without his consent or knowledge? And that's not just the president or me raising those questions, Caitlin. According to the New York Post, there are Biden officials from the previous White House who raised those questions and wondered if the president was even consulted about his legally binding signature being signed onto documents. And so I think it's a question that everybody in this room should be looking into, because certainly that would propose perhaps criminal or illegal behavior if staff members were signing the president of the United States autograph without his consent.
Biden is on the record talking about issuing preemptive.
That is like an issue, though. Y'all, what do y'all think about that? Like, if things are being auto-signed, right, and the president has no idea what's going on, and they just using his auto signature on everything. What do y'all think? Like, should that be investigated?
Pardons to these people.
But was he aware of his signature being used on every single pardon? That's a question you should ask the Biden White House.
That's a very, very, I love how she handled that. Fake news lady. What do y'all think? I got it on subscribers only. You don't have to be subscribed for a whole long period of time, because a lot of times I end up talking to people that aren't even subscribed, and I want to stop doing that. Christian Medwick, he said, where's my boy Matt Gaetz? He is a Democrat in here. Christian Medwick represents the Democrats. And then we got EEX. He said, Joe Biden is a national treasure. He should be put in a museum with the rest of the dinosaurs.
The White House told President Trump that he is the legal authority to undo a pardon simply because it was signed by auto pen, as he said?
The president was begging the question that I think a lot of journalists in this room should be asking about whether or not the former president of the United States, who I think we can all finally agree was cognitively impaired. I know it took people some time to finally admit that, but we all know that to be true, as evidenced by his disastrous debate performance against President Trump during the campaign.
I mean, not only that, he can't walk upstairs. He can't walk in sand. He goes to African, like, in Africa, he's falling asleep. Like, he can't stay up. He don't know what's going on. He's trying to eat kids. Like, he's wilding on camera, right? So does he really know about all these pardons that were signed, or was it just his auto pen used? Journalists should be asking that. So that fake news lady that's trying to put the onus on Trump, like, won't y'all put the onus on yourself? How come y'all didn't question the cognitive ability of Joe Biden when he was president? Fake news. How come y'all didn't do that? Not only didn't y'all do that, you know he's not aware of things. So how is he going to be fully aware of all of these pardons that's going on? That's something, like, when she's saying that, that's Carolyn saying that, that's legit. Y'all should be wondering, like, whether or not this, you know what I mean? He knew about all this stuff.
I digress on that. But the president was raising the point that, did the president even know about these pardons? Was his legal signature used without his consent or knowledge? And that's not just the president or me raising those questions, Caitlin. According to the New York Post, there are Biden officials from the previous White House who raised those questions and wondered if the president was even consulted about his legally binding signature being signed onto documents. And so I think it's a question that everybody in this room should be looking into, because certainly that would propose perhaps criminal or illegal behavior if staff members were signing the President of the United States autograph without his consent.
Biden is on the record talking about issuing preemptive pardons to these people.
But was he aware of his signature being used on every single pardon? That's a question you should ask the Biden White House.
Is there any evidence on that he wasn't aware of it?
Is there any evidence that he was aware of it? Hey, Carolyn, go crazy on this lady, bro. Like, I'm like, her fakeness, like, go crazy, Carolyn.
You should find out.
Okay,
Sean.
on the flights, so I have a question on the timeline of the flights. You keep talking about the judge's written order, which hit the docket Saturday night at about 7:26 p.m., but he issued a verbal order before that at about 6:45 and 6:48 p.m. based on the court hearing. A verbal order from the bench. Does the White House feel the need to comply with a verbal order from this judge?
Again, as I said, all of the planes subject to the written order of this judge departed U.S. soil, U.S. territory before the judge's written order.
But what about the verbal order, which of course carries the same legal weight as a written order, and said for the planes...
Oh my God, this fake lady! Why are we answering this lady? She is fake news. She is trying, no, like, I'll be like, all right, we need another question. We've answered way too many of the fake news' questions. We need other questions now. Because she won't stop. Like, go somewhere.
Verbal order from this judge?
Again, as I said, all of the planes subject to the written order of this judge departed U.S. soil, U.S. territory before the judge's written order.
But what about the verbal order, which of course carries the same legal weight as a written order, and said for the planes to turn around if they were...
Well, there's actually questions about whether a verbal order carries the same weight as a legal order, as a written order, and our lawyers are determined to ask and answer those questions in court. Sean.
Hey, so on Friday, the president suggested at length that it should be illegal to criticize judges, but he has repeatedly criticized judges who rule against him, and Elon Musk is calling for impeachment of judges who have opposed the administration. So how are those two things not in conflict?
I have not heard the president talk about impeaching judges. I know you mentioned Mr. Musk's tweet, but I have not heard the president of the United States ask that. Mary.
Hey, thanks, Caroline. I wanted to ask
Very good way to answer that, Caroline.
About this video I saw this morning set to the tune of, I believe, Closing Time, about deportations of illegal migrants. What's
Draco said, turn the plane around.
the strategy behind the White House's videos they've been putting out on this, and can you kind of talk us through the thinking on these videos?
Sure. I think the White House and our entire government clearly is leaning into the message of this president. And we are unafraid to double down and to take responsibility and ownership of the serious decisions that are being made. The president was elected with an overwhelming mandate to launch the largest mass deportation campaign in American history, and that's exactly what he is doing. And to this very day, we are now, I think, 56 or 7 days into the administration by my count. The president still receives an overwhelming public support for the policies that he is enacting. So we are unafraid.
Caitlin Collins got smoked. I'm sorry, she did. What do y'all think? I think Caitlin Collins got smoked.
To message effectively what the president is doing on a daily basis to make our communities safer. And the specific video you referenced, I think it sums up our immigration policy pretty well. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions. First, will President Trump put sanctions on Russia if the talks on Tuesday don't go as hoped? And secondly, have any illegal immigrants self-deported through CBP home yet?
That's a really good question. Like, will Trump put sanctions on Russia if the talks are not like good? First of all, like, we don't know what the actual talks are. We don't know how long this is going to take. You know what I mean? So, I mean, but that's a very, very good question. I'm curious to see how Carolyn's going to answer this.
To your first question, it's something the president...
Yeah, exactly. Rashad Strain has said, yes, she got smoked. I think she smoked her. I think she body bagged her. Draco is a member on the channel. He said, listen to me, Judge. It's one-way tickets, economy class. Get him up out of here.
Has floated, and certainly he's willing to do if necessary. I don't have anything to read out, and I would never get ahead of the president on such a serious decision. To your second question about the CBP Home app, I would have to check in with the Department of Homeland Security, but it's a great question, and we're very proud to repurpose this app, which the Biden administration abused to facilitate the mass illegal entry of illegal immigrants into our country. It was like a fast pass at Disneyland. That's not happening under this administration. We are encouraging illegal immigrants to actively self-deport to maybe save themselves from being in one of these fun videos. Sure. John, good to see you.
After President Trump strafe-bombed the Houthis yesterday, he said that if they retaliate, he was going to personally hold Iran accountable for that. Holding them accountable, what would that look like?
Well, I would defer you to what the president put out this morning, John, where he said very clearly, I will read it, let nobody be fooled. The hundreds of attacks being made by Houthi, the sinister mobsters and thugs based in Yemen, who are hated by the Yemeni people, are all created by Iran. Any further attack or retaliation by the Houthis will be met with great force, and there is no guarantee that the force will stop there. Iran has played the innocent victim of rogue terrorists from which they've lost control, but they haven't lost control. They are dictating every move, giving them the weapons, supplying them with money and highly sophisticated military equipment, and even so-called intelligence. Every shot fired by the Houthis will be looked upon from this point forward as being a shot fired from the weapons and leadership of Iran. And Iran will be held responsible and suffer the consequences, and those consequences will be dire. That is a statement from the President of the United States just moments ago. I have nothing additional to share, but our message to Iran is you better take this president seriously, and I think the Houthis learned that the hard way this past weekend. As I said in my opening remarks, there's a new sheriff.
And how they are learning the hard way is the missile strikes. You know, you can't mess with our shipping supplies. Like, you can't do that. You know, Biden would allow them to do that, not Trump.
In town, and this president is not just going to sit on his hands and allow terrorists to launch attacks on commercial vessels and U.S. naval ships. Those actions will not be tolerated. Sure, Edward.
Yeah, thanks. Caroline, on the economy. So after mostly a down week last week in the economy, you've been very vocal as well as the other cabinet members about how we're in a transition and about how this economic transition, and there's a plan, a long-term plan for tariffs on this. How concerned is the president that the markets and Americans, for lack of a better term, will freak out over these tariffs and be concerned about a long-term plan?
Sure. I think I've been asked this question and answered this question respectfully, Edward. We are in a period of transition. The president has made that clear. He also has made his belief in tariffs and what they will do for our great country clear, restoring wealth back to our country. And if you look at the president's first-term economic formula, massive deregulation, tax cuts, lowering the cost of living with an energy boom, which the American people can expect soon. Wall Street and Main Street should both be assured by what President Trump did in his first term. It's the exact same formula. In fact, I would argue it's even better this time around. And if you look at some of the economic indicators in the last week, the latest CPI report last week beat expectations. Inflation is cooling. Core inflation dropped for the first time in 4 months. The national average of the price of gas is down 42 cents from 1 year ago. And there was also a new report out this morning about wholesale egg prices. They continue to fall. A dozen eggs are now $3.10 cheaper.
Hey, $3.10 cheaper than they were
since January 24th. First, that's a 47% decrease overall. So,
all right, so everybody, all y'all Republicans out here, right? When you hear a Democrat say, yeah, but the cost of the eggs, she just said that they're cheaper than what they were on January 1st. So what we doing? What we doing?
I think the American people do have great reason to be optimistic about this economy. And as I've said repeatedly, it continues to be true. The administration has a whole of government effort to fix the economic mess created by Biden.
So the president's pointing to that April 2nd tariff deadline, so to speak. Is the tariff back and forth sort of done now? We're just all looking towards April 2nd?
Well, I think the president would tell you that all options are always on the table, and he's always ready to respond if he feels the United States is being unfairly treated by our allies and also our competitors around the world. But yes, the April 2nd day is a big day for the country, as the president has said. Reciprocal tariffs will go into effect. We'll have more details on that as the date nears, but our entire trade team, Secretary Lutnick, Secretary Bessent, the vice president has been quite involved in these talks and discussions as well about what that will look like. And the president, as you always do, you will hear from him directly on it. Deborah Saunders, how are you?
Fine. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Former pardon attorney Elizabeth Warren.
There's a lot of people in here. Subscribe to the channel if you can. Thug Life.
She was fired for refusing to sign off.
Also, like, we got like 400 subscribers, right? Shout out to all y'all new people that came in here and subscribe. Also, like, when I upload videos too, you know what I mean? Check for the uploads and all of that. Shout out to y'all.
I moved to restore gun rights to actor narratives. DOJ's Todd Blanche says no. But I want to know, is the administration dedicated to restoring gun rights to felons who served their times? I ask this because I've talked to people who were pardoned. They felt that was important. Of course, this isn't necessarily for a pardon. What is the president's thinking on this issue?
Sure.
After you've served your sentence, should you have gun rights?
It's an important question. It is one I have not spoken to the president about on his views, but I will take it to him this afternoon. I will tell him you asked.
That's a touchy subject. Like, so after you served your sentence, you've had a felony, served your sentence, you get out of jail, should you have your gun rights restored? That's very interesting. Very interesting. But some people, but you know, it depends on what the felony is, right? Like, you know, if you commit like a violent like felony, like, I don't think you should be getting your gun rights restored. Like, I don't think so. But, you know, you said you are at 123,000 subs, bro. Yeah, but y'all acting like I'm at 1 million. I'm not at 1 million yet. They like he's we don't know if we trust him. Let's not give him that subscribe. Well, don't do that. Like, hate on me when I get 900,000. 123,000, it's not a lot.
And we will get you an answer. You're welcome. Jonathan.
Thanks a lot.
My girl Candace Owens got 4 million. That's a lot. Officer Tatum's got like 2 million. That's a lot. I got like 123,000. It's not a lot.
Carolina, a question for you regarding the administration complying with judges' orders. I want to ask about an administration spokesperson whose the borders are.
Yeah, and then if the record is expunged, that's a different story. You know, if you can, you know, go to the governor or whatever, or figure something out, get it expunged, yeah, you can probably get your rights back.
Tom Homan, he was on Fox News.
We love Tom Homan.
And he was talking about the deportations, and he said the following. He said, "We're not stopping. I don't care what the judges think," which seems to me, just reading that, that you don't care what orders come from the federal bench. Is that the case? Can you clarify that, please?
Well, I think since you just quoted Tom, I'll quote Tom. He said, "I don't care what the judges think, but I can assure you that the administration is complying with the court order. And as I've said repeatedly from this podium,"
I don't care what the judges think. Yo, shout out to Tom.
all of the flights that were subject to the judge's written order departed before the written order, and we are prepared to make that case in court later this afternoon. Reagan.
And then if I could, on Russia, the president, as you pointed out, Caroline, made some remarks on Air Force One coming back from Florida, and he seemed to indicate that the conversation tomorrow concerns essentially dividing up assets, dividing up territory associated with the war in Ukraine. Has President Zelensky given President Trump that authority? Is that what is going to take place tomorrow?
Well, as you know, the president and his entire national security team have been engaged directly with President Zelensky and the Ukrainian team, and that has been part of the discussion between the president's team and the Ukrainians. As for where those lines will be drawn or any specifics, I am not going to get into that from this podium. It would be unwise for me to get ahead of the president's call with President Putin tomorrow. But again, I can assure you, in the effort of transparency, as this president always does, you will hear from him or one of us directly after that phone call tomorrow. Reagan.
Thank you, Caroline. There's a lot of focus on the judicial branch right now. The president has about 40 judicial appointments that he could make at this moment. Do you have an update on what the timeline would look like for those judicial appointments? And does the
That's a really good question.
president have a list?
It's like 40 people waiting to be appointed as the federal judges or whatever. Like, so what is the timeline on when we can get these people in there? I think that's a very good question, and they need to move quickly to get people in there. You know, that way they can stop all of these judges from, like, I mean, they can't stop the, you know, the judges or whatever, but that way they would have a little less resistance on what they're doing.
List of potential nominees that he's vetting.
I do not have an update on a timeline, nor do I have a list, but I can certainly have our team gather that for you and provide it.
Good question.
You're welcome. Sure. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline.
Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. So the president is visiting the Kennedy Center this afternoon to attend a board meeting. A question about what happened a few weeks ago. The Kennedy Center got bomb threats targeting a performance by Shingyun Performing Arts, which is an American company showcasing China before communism. This company has been targeted, unfortunately, by the CCP for years. I'm wondering if this administration has a response to this, and also as the president is putting an emphasis on arts and culture, what's the administration's message to potentially foreign state actors who are trying to disrupt that in the U.S.?
Don't disrupt it. This administration will take that very seriously and hold you accountable. We obviously condemn any violence or threats of violence against American institutions, and the president will be traveling to the Kennedy Center later this afternoon. I look forward to going with him. As you know, he is now the chairman of the board of the Kennedy Center, where he hopes to restore arts and culture that embrace American tradition, don't disparage it, as we have unfortunately seen over the past several years. The president will be doing a tour of the center. In his business developer mind, I'm sure he will make some recommendations on how the center itself can be improved, but also will be...
They did a really good job picking her. Like, what do y'all think in the comment section? She is doing a remarkable job. Way better than the last White House press secretary. Way better. Like, she's not, like, if she don't know something, she'll just say, like, well, I don't know. I haven't been briefed on that. But most of the time, like, she is, like, rattling things off, like she's on point. You know what I mean? Shout out to her.
Discussing perhaps some future plays and musicals and theater.
Matt goes ahead and he says, Matt 562, he said, if you are not from America, why are you worried about American politics? That is crazy. You think Americans are worried about your country's politics? We are not. The reason why a lot of these people are worried about American politics is because we move the needle. Like, when our president is elected, it's important. You know what I'm saying? And they feel the effects of our leadership. So whether or not they're in the comment section or wherever, like talking negative about America, one thing's for sure, our president has power and their presidents don't have as much power or influence. You know, so they worry about what we're going to do. Yeah, they'll get over here. They'll say, oh, well, in America, like you guys are, you know, your freedom of speech is at risk and all. Yeah, it was under risk, you know, at risk with Democrats taking away TikTok, trying to take away this, take away that. Yeah, it was at risk then. Now I don't really see like anything's being at risk. They got a lot of negative things to say, but at the end of the day, our president has authority, and more authority than a lot of times their presidents. So, you know, that's why they're super in tune with what we're doing.
Theatrical programs that the center will be hosting under his new leadership and the board's new leadership. Daniel.
Will the president be discussing with Putin tomorrow the future of Volodymyr Zelensky? Sort of a follow-up to John's question.
Again, I've been asked and answered this question now. I'm not going to get ahead.
Matt said, like, we're not sitting here worried about y'all presidents. The only one we even talked about was Zelensky of Ukraine because he keeps asking us for money. You know what I mean? That's the only reason why we was concerned with that. Other than that, we don't really care what y'all be doing because y'all can't affect us. Like, we're America, we're immovable, you know. So we got a lot of clout worldwide, you know what I mean?
Ahead of the president's discussion tomorrow, but after the phone call takes place, I can certainly provide a readout. Daniel.
Caroline, thank you so much. You mentioned earlier in the briefing that you guys are at the 10-yard line of peace. Given the amount of progress that you've made in such a short amount of time, is that an indictment of the previous administration's foreign policy stance, and is it just more proof that you need to talk to people to sort of get things done?
I think so. I think the previous administration is the reason this war began. As President Trump often says, this war would have never started if he were still in office. It only started because of the incompetence and the weakness of the previous.
Andra Medina said, I thought Kaylee did an awesome job. I like Carolyn also.
Administration, and President Trump is very proud of the progress that he and his team
Tom Curtis said, we are the big brother of Earth.
Have made in such a short amount of time, and hopefully tomorrow that progress will move forward. Sure.
Thanks. There have been some media reports just in the last few hours that the administration has decided to withdraw from the International Center for the Prosecution of the Crime of Aggression against Ukraine, which is designed to hold Putin accountable for war crimes. Are you able to confirm that? And if that has occurred, why has that occurred?
I'm not able to confirm it because I have not heard that. I will caution, I know there have been many inaccurate and misleading reports from...
Yo, hold on. All right, so he's a member on the channel, so I gotta listen to him. Shout out to him, Draco. He said, Papa, you want a good laugh? Pull them videos of El Salvador receiving them cartel members. All right, let's look. Let's see what they're doing.
Hours after President Trump invoked an 18th century wartime law, alleged members of Venezuela's prison gang Tren de Aragua arriving in El Salvador. All
right, let's see. All right, so they in El Salvador. I think News Nation will let us use it.
Terrorism Confinement Center. A senior Trump administration official telling News Nation in total, 261 illegal aliens were deported to El Salvador, of which 137 were deported using that Alien Enemies Act. The timing comes as a federal judge actually blocked deportation flights after Trump invoked that law.
Like, oh, you want to leave our country? Yo, they getting real with it. Shout out.
From 1798. But the Trump administration is firing.
Oh, this how they train them, dog. Live. Get them up out of here. Get them up out of here. They getting them off them planes.
Back now, saying it did not violate that ruling because the planes were already in international airspace. News Nation's Jorge.
Reuters lately, so I would caution anybody taking that seriously.
I think it's like a third-party contract that's like being responsible from like flying illegals like to their own countries and stuff like that. So we're not using like our military equipment to do it. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. Whoever got them contracts is smart.
But I can check in and get back to you. Rachel.
Is it the president's belief that the Justice Department should be investigating members of the January 6th Select Committee? Is he directing the DOJ to do that?
Let's see.
Hey, Ventura, live in San Diego with what we're learning about those deportations at this hour. Jorge?
Well, Alex, a senior Trump administration official confirming to News Nation that the rap sheets of those illegal aliens deported to El Salvador yesterday do include.
Shout out to Jake Duff Ricards. He says subscribe.
Kidnapping, sexual abuse of a child, robbery, and aggravated assault on a police officer. Now, according to El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, the country will be receiving 238 suspected Tren de Aragua gang members and 23 suspected MS-13 gang members who were immediately transferred to the country.
So they're gang members. So wait, y'all federal judges and Democrats are trying to keep these gang members in America? Like what? These are gang members.
Mega prison. Footage from El Salvador's government shows a high-security transfer with shackled prisoners stumbling forward as heavily armed officers push them along. The wrists, ankles, and waists are tightly bound, forcing them to show in short, restricted steps.
Jeremiah O'Brien said he is subscribed. Shout out to you, bro.
On the tarmac, riot police stand shoulder to shoulder, gripping their batons as helicopters hover overhead, scanning for any disturbances. The men are loaded one by one onto special units and military buses.
Man, they not playing. Shout out to Trump.
As the president made it very clear in his address on Friday, I believe some of you were there, I was there, he made his vision for what he would like to see of the Department of Justice very clear, but he said that he has appointed great people in Attorney General Pam Bondi and also in our FBI Director Kash Patel to do what they think is best for our justice system and to stop the weaponization of justice that we saw under the previous administration against not just President Trump but his supporters as well. We want to restore the Department of Justice to an institution that focuses on fighting law and order and crime and putting real criminals behind bars, not targeting Americans because of their religion or their political speech. We saw that under the previous administration, and it's unacceptable to this president.
And just to follow up really quickly on just Homan's comments from earlier, a few weeks ago in the Oval Office, the president said he will always abide by the courts. We heard what Tom Homan said earlier today. So I'm only asking just to be clear for the American people. It is the administration's belief that they will that you feel like you are bound to comply by the judge's orders?
We are complying with the judge's orders.
Question on the storm.
Sure.
What role is the president?
Yeah, they're complying. They're not like operating like a rogue government. Like they're, if the federal judges have rules, like they're complying with them. Shout out to her.
See for FEMA with these storms. He's talking about getting rid of FEMA, states handling their own disasters. Does he plan to change how the federal government responds to these storms?
There hasn't been a change yet. That doesn't mean there couldn't be in the future. But as of right now, the president, the entire administration are actively monitoring the storms, as I said. In fact, before I came down here, there was an email note in my inbox from the Department of Homeland Security on what they are actually doing state by state across the board. So rest assured, Secretary Noem and her team is on it, and I would defer you to the Department of Homeland Security for any further details.
One more question. The president referenced power plants with a conversation with Vladimir Putin.
Mm-hmm.
What is he referring to with power plants? What is that?
There's a power plant that is on the border of Russia and Ukraine that was up for discussion with the Ukrainians, and he will address it in his call with Putin tomorrow.
The nuclear plant.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Caroline?
Do you have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you if you would be releasing more granular data about the people who were sent to El Salvador this week. Particularly, will you be releasing their names?
I don't believe so because of the privacy concerns at this point in time. That doesn't mean we won't eventually. I would defer you to the Department of Homeland Security for more details on the individuals on the flights. But we have been incredibly transparent in giving you the breakdown of the numbers and also some of the crimes committed by these heinous criminals and individuals. Kidnapping, sexual abuse of a child, robbery, aggravated assault on a police officer. I would remind everybody in this room that Tren de Aragua is a foreign foreign terrorist organization operating within the United States of America because the previous administration allowed them to invade our country. These are monsters who tortured, raped, and murdered a 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungray. They murdered 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley. They led a multi-state sex trafficking operation involving smuggling women into the United States, holding them in stash houses in Louisiana, Florida, New Jersey, Texas, and Virginia, and forcing them into prostitution.
That's crazy, bro. And Democrats want them to stay.
And please welcome
and illegal weapons who will work to prosecute violent criminals, get the drugs off our streets, get the gangs off our streets, and get the illegal aliens out of our country. And thank you to all of our federal, state, and local law enforcement officers who are here today who keep us safe every day and night. Thank you to all of you.
Michelle Baker said they love monsters.
Today we have with us one of the most effective drug seizing teams in the entire country. I said I wish I told them earlier, take them and put them in every major city in the country. Since January, they have saved millions of lives taking drugs and illegal weapons off the streets of Boston. And Todd, they asked us for more U.S. attorneys. I told them we're on it. Could you all please stand? This is Boston's DEA strike team. Thank you all.
And shout out to her. I think she worked on the Deepwater Horizon case back in the day in Florida, and she ended up getting a lot of money for Florida because of that.
Thank you. We also have two angel moms here today. Anne lost her son. He was 15. He thought he was taking a Percocet at school, and it was laced with fentanyl. And he was beautiful. And I'm so sorry. But all of these people in this room, thanks to the directive of Donald Trump, are going to keep our streets safe and protect our kids. Thank you for being here.
Michelle Baker, a subscriber on the channel, said, who can defend these monsters? A lot of Democrats are trying. It's insane. Christian met with a Democrat in here. He said, I think she worked at Watergate too. Like, chill! Christian Betwick is crazy, bro.
And Tammy's beautiful daughter, Kayla, was murdered violently by an illegal alien from El Salvador who should not have been in our country. And thanks to Donald Trump, they will all be deported very soon, thanks to his work, Homeland Security. And I say the unsung hero, Stephen Miller.
Well, it looks like she got that cross, that necklace from Tiffany's. That's shiny. It's bright. It's bling.
On stage, we have, this is 180 kilograms. It represents, not real, of fentanyl, okay? So this represents 1 kilo of fentanyl. In its pure form, this 1 kilo can kill 500,000 people. The 180 there.
I love that she did that. That puts it into perspective because people just see like bricks of coke, and, you know what I mean? Bricks of that, and they'd be like, it ain't really, bro, that can, 500,000 people can be gone off of that. Like, that's why they have to do something about, one, people flooding into the country, because you don't know what they're bringing, right? Remember when CBS, like, sat down with, Kamala Harris? And he said, he was like, yo, we cover the border, and the number of crossings have quadrupled within the last 4 years. With that, like, fentanyl has been like coming in here like crazy. And then her response was, well, we ended up cutting the number of fentanyl coming into America by half. But if it's quadruple and you cut it in half, it's still double the amount that's coming in here. So she not even like understanding that. It's like, yo, this is coming in here and like, bro, I went, you know how like I don't know what it was. I was like online. Oh yeah, somebody had like passed, right? And I was like looking at, you know, like the homes, you know what I mean? Like or whatever, like going on the website and seeing like how they do the website, the obituaries and everything. Bro, the amount of young people in some of these like funeral homes is crazy. And then I'm like, yo, this is insane. So I would like look up the person's name and see, like, it was some people like car accidents and stuff like that, tragic car accidents. But then there's people like, you know, you look it up and they like fentanyl overdose. These are like young people. Like this is happening to. So it's a big deal. So I think something needs to be done about it.
In pure form, could kill 90 million people. That is the population of California, Texas, and Florida. That's what we're dealing with in our country. That's why angel moms go around the country. That's why Donald Trump has taken.
Jeff Whiting said, his subscriber in here said, it is very sad. Yes. This is why they not just like when Trump said he's got a war on the cartels. First of all, cartels ain't got no problem with y'all thug life. I'm just saying what Trump said. Right. But when he said he's making them like terrorist organizations, this is why, you know what I mean? Like, this is like, y'all got to understand, this is like dropping a nuke, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's what it is. Like, it's like slowly unaliving like mad people.
Taken such a hard stance against cartels, securing our borders, getting these gangs and drugs out of our country. But look at that. That can kill 3 states in its pure form. That should terrify everyone. I see our senators made it. Did our senators? Thank you. However, taking the drugs off the streets is only half the battle. President Trump has secured our borders and will continue to fight the cartels throughout this country, deport them all, or lock them up for the rest of their lives, thanks to our prosecutors around this country where they belong. Under the last administration, cartels, criminals, they freely walked in and out of our country with impunity. No longer. Under Donald Trump, they live in fear, and they better live in fear because we're coming after all of them.
Yo, you gotta have some serious security detail to say that. Yo, what?
I am so proud to have a team with Emil and Todd.
Yeah, so Jay Barillo in the comments section, a subscriber said he's not trying to get rid of junkies, he's trying to save their lives and hopefully give them hope again. Yeah.
And all of our great team, and we all work for the greatest president in the history of our country. We are so proud to work at the directive of Donald Trump. It is he will never stop fighting for us, and
shout out to everybody. We just hit 100,000 views like on this video. Appreciate y'all. You know, I mean, subscribe to the channel if you can. It's right there. Just tap the subscribe button and also watch the uploads. We got 500 something subscribers this live. Appreciate y'all.
will never stop fighting for him and for our country. It is an honor to welcome to the Department of Justice the 45th and the 47th.
All right, y'all. See what our president's talking about.
Very, very proud of all of you. Under the Trump administration, the DOJ and the FBI will once again become the premier crime-fighting agencies on the face of the earth. People ask me, what am I going to do about law enforcement all the time? The fake news back there, they're asking me that all the time. What am I going to do? And when are you going to do it? And I answer them by saying I've already done most of it by appointing the people that I've appointed. They're sitting right here. They've done most of it. I don't do it, they do it. Right, Pam? I think, oh, you are so tough, they just don't know yet. Let me begin by congratulating the incredible people who will lead these historic reforms. And we start with somebody that you just saw, Pam Bondi. She's extraordinary, and I've known her very well for a long time. I watched her for a long time in Florida, for years in Florida, and highly experienced. She seems so young, but she's...
Jay Barillo said, I love this channel. All you needed was the new president.
Highly experienced, that I can tell you. She was a phenomenal attorney general in Florida, and she's going to do a really amazing job. Also, our new director of the FBI, Kash Patel. Kash, right. A man that I'm very proud of. I've known him and Emil for a long time under tremendous pressure. I saw these guys under some of the most corrupt judges. It's not even imaginable how corrupt they were. And these guys never wilted. They were not shy. They fought. They weren't afraid, and they were brilliant. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and Principal Associate Deputy Attorney Emil Beauvais, and thank you both very. Great people. They're great people.
We got some Democrats in here said, hope they deport you, Jay Barillo. Johnny Harris is a member on the channel. Shout out to you. He said Trump and the Avengers.
The Chief of Staff, who's so highly respected, Chad Mizell. Thank you, Chad. Chad? Thank you, Chad. Our next administrator of the DEA, Terry Cole. Terry? Thank you, Terry. Good luck. Going to do great. Senior counsel to the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. Boy, I've been watching him on television last couple of weeks. He is really a tough one, and he's a great one. Leo Terrell, you watch how good he's going to be. He's going to be so good. Thank you, Leo. Great guy. Assistant Attorney General of the Antitrust Division, who's got an incredible reputation. She'll do very, very well. Gail Slater. Thank you, Gail. Good luck. Great job. Now, we're joined by many, many great friends and terrific friends, and I won't be able to, too many to name, but some that I just see very quickly. General Flynn, thank you for being here. There's a man who went through hell, by the way, and he shouldn't have. He's a patriot. He went through hell. We're also pleased to be joined by Senator Chuck Grassley and House Majority Whip. Where's Chuck? Hi, Chuck. House Majority Whip Tom Emmer. Tom, great job you're doing. Representative Guy Reschenthaler, one of the toughest names to say, but I got it perfectly, I think. And State Attorney General Ken Paxton, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Somebody who was with us early on, and she's really become a big star and very popular, Brenna Bird. Thank you, Brenna. Thank you very much. Steve Marshall, Alan Wilson, James Othermeyer, Chris Carr, Dave Sunday, Marty Jackley, as well as White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller. What a man Stephen is. Become a big star. Right, Emil? Steve Miller.
Shout out to Ronald Howard. Appreciate it.
Steve has been something very special. For generations, the Federal Department of Justice was one of America's most revered institutions. The men and women of the DOJ brought down the mafia, hunted down the killers, kingpins, and spies, tracked down terrorists and traitors, and tore down corrupt political machines all across America. This department commanded the respect and admiration of the entire world. And with Pam and Cash and all of the people I introduced and far more, big numbers, and all of you sitting back there, I recognize so many of you. But with you leading the way, it'll soon be the most admired and most respected of all. You're going to be more respected, and I really believe that there's also a lot of things to solve, a lot of problems to solve. but that's going to put you in the upper tier and maybe the top tier, and I believe that's going to happen. I'm so proud of the people in this room. But first, we must be honest about the lies and abuses that have occurred within these walls. Unfortunately, in recent years, a corrupt group of hacks and radicals within the ranks of the American government obliterated the trust and goodwill built up over generations. They weaponized the vast powers of our intelligence and law enforcement agencies to try and thwart the will of the American people. You remember the 51 intelligence agents that said, as an example, that Hunter Biden's laptop from hell came from Russia when they knew it came right from his bedroom. They knew that. It was a big lie, and they knew it so well. They spied on my campaign, launched one hoax and disinformation operation after another, broke the law on a colossal scale, persecuted my family, staff, and supporters, raided my home, Mar-a-Lago, and did everything within their power to prevent me from becoming the president of the United States. With the help of radicals like Mark Elias, Mark Pomerantz, and these are people that nobody's ever seen anything like it. So many others, but these are people that are bad people, really bad people. They tried to turn America into a corrupt, communist, and third world country. But in the end, the thugs failed and the truth won. Freedom won, justice won, democracy won, and above all, the American people won. There could be no more heinous betrayal of American values than to use the law to terrorize the innocent.
Yeah, Draco, a member on the channel, said Trump less than 2 months in, America first.
And reward
Shout out to Greg, said, man, subscribe. Shout out to you.
Wicked, and that's what they were doing at a level that's never been seen before. And it's exactly what you saw with Joe Biden, Merrick Garland. And
how did they demonize MAGA, make America great again? Like, Democrats have managed to try to demonize MAGA. Like, how does that even make sense? Make America great again is negative. Like, yo, I can't understand Democrat logic, bro. I can't. Sorry.
their cronies to do the building of the last 4 years. What they've ripped down is incalculable. But what you're going to build up is likewise something that will be breaking all sorts of records. They set loose violent criminals while targeting patriotic parents at school board meetings. They dropped charges against Antifa and Hamas supporters while labeling traditional Catholics as domestic terrorists. The Catholics, we did very well with the Catholic vote, so I want to thank them.
Just the drum said, remember y'all voted for this. Like, what is he doing wrong? Yes, I'm very happy. I'm satisfied with my president. I wasn't satisfied with Biden at all. I didn't vote for Biden, but I wasn't satisfied with him. I'm satisfied with my president. I think he's doing a very good job. I think he's doing good. He had, what, 2 months? Like, he's doing good.
And for that, they really did. Just record numbers. I would say, what's with the Catholics? They're really after the Catholics, so I don't know. They were after a lot of people. Maybe they didn't even know why. They imported illegal alien murderers, drug dealers, and child predators from all over the world to come into our country while putting elderly Christians and pro-life activists on trial for singing hymns and for saying prayers. They went to jail for that. Our predecessors turned this Department of Justice into the Department of Injustice. But I stand before you today to declare that those days are over, and they are never going to come back. They're never coming back. So now, as the chief law enforcement officer in our country, I will insist upon and demand full and complete accountability for the wrongs and abuses that have occurred. The American people have given us a mandate like few people thought possible. We won every single swing state. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of people. We won districts, 2,750 Think of that, 2,750 districts compared to 505. So we want it at levels that have, I don't believe, ever seen before. That's the one where you see the map of the United States and it's all red. Red for Republican, not for communist. Red for Republican. They would like it to turn red for communist, but it didn't work out that way. The American people have given us a mandate and really a far-reaching investigation is what they are demanding into the corruption of our system. And that's exactly, I'm sure, what Pam and Cash and everyone else mentioned here and not mentioned is going to be doing. We will expel the rogue actors and corrupt forces from our government. We will expose and very much expose their egregious crimes and severe misconduct, of which was levels you've never seen anything like it. It's
We have world peace under Trump.
legendary. It's going to also be legendary for the people that are able to seek it out and bring justice. We will restore the scales of justice in America, and we will ensure that such abuses never happen again in our country. And that's why on day one, I signed an executive order banning all government censorship and directing the removal of every bureaucrat who conspired to attack free speech and many other things and values in America. My administration stripped the
Bro, when I heard Trump going after them for, or saying he's going to go after companies for restricting freedom of speech, I went crazy. I'm like, yo, Trump has got to get elected. I got so tired of like not being able to say anything on the internet. It's like frustrating, like as a creator, like knowing you can't talk about certain things. That was all under Biden.
Security clearances of the disgraced intelligence agents who lied about Hunter Biden's laptop from hell. We revoked the clearances of deranged Jack Smith, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, and the crooked law firms that aided their partisan persecutions. And I went through it. These are state and city courts, and the corruption is unbelievable. We also terminated
Shout out to Chat It Up with the $5 donation. Appreciate you.
Clearances of the Biden crime family and Joe Biden himself. He didn't deserve it. In fact, he was essentially found guilty, but they said he was incompetent, and therefore let's not find him guilty, I guess. Nobody knows what that ruling was, but I didn't want any part of it. I think I would have rather been found guilty than what they found with him. They said he didn't know what the hell he was doing, and therefore he's let him go. I said, you know, I'd rather be convicted, Pam. I think that was not good. I said, please convict me, don't say that. I pardoned hundreds of political prisoners who had been grossly mistreated. We removed the senior FBI officials who misdirected resources to send SWAT teams after grandmothers and J6 hostages. And it was a great honor for me to fire, I will tell you this, a great honor to fire James Comey. A great, great honor. That was nothing. There was no better day. A lot of people said, oh, that's too bad you did that. And they said that's going to be, and you know what? A year later, they said that actually saved the administration because the level of corrupt things that we learned after that turned out to be that they were doing, in fact, really bad things. He was a terrible person, did terrible things and persecuted people, and all in the guise of being an angel, but he wasn't an angel. We created a brand new DOJ task force and anti-Christian bias. And under Director Patel, we're getting the FBI agents out of the headquarters in Washington, D.C., and back on the streets in pursuit of dangerous criminals where they belong and where they want to be. And, you know, you have that big FBI building, and it's a very big building, and they were going to build an FBI headquarters 3 hours away in Maryland, a liberal state, but that has no bearing on what I'm about to say, but we're going to stop it. Not going to let that happen. We're going to build another big FBI building right where it is, which would have been the right place because the FBI and the DOJ have to be near each other. You can't that's one thing I did learn from this persecution. The FBI and the DOJ work together. Now, in my case, they work together for bad purposes, but they do. They were always together. So how can you have one that's 3 hours away? But one thing I said to Cash, well, we're going to get a great building built. It's going to be a magnificent building. He said, sir, we don't need that kind of room. I said, what do you mean? He said, I'm just going to take a old Department of Commerce building that's about 25% the size. And that's what I need. We're going to have the best staff that you've ever seen, and that's what I need. It's in a nice location, but I don't need that big building. Why don't you just sell the site to somebody? And we're going to be very happy. And they want to have far fewer people, but we also want to have them in D.C. And if for no other reason, we like having law enforcement walking the streets of our capital, because when the bad guys are out there and they see there's an FBI agent, that's the ultimate in law enforcement. And they're not going to be acting so bad. We're cleaning up our city. We're cleaning up this great capital. And we're not going to have crime, and we're not going to stand for crime. And we're going to take the graffiti down, and we're already taking the tents down, and we're working with the administration. And if the administration can't do the job, we're going to have to take it back and run it through the federal government. But we hope the administration is going to be able. So far, they've been doing very well. The mayor's been doing a good job. We said there are tents galore right opposite the State Department. They have to come down, and they took them down right away. And so far, so good. But we want to have a capital that can be the talk of the world. When Prime Minister Modi of India, when the President of France, and all of these people, the head of Prime Minister of United Kingdom, they all came to see me over the last week and a half. And when they come in, I had the route run. I didn't want to have them see tents. I didn't want to have them see graffiti. I didn't want to have them see broken barriers and potholes in the roads. And we had it looking beautiful. And we're going to do that for the city. And we're going to have a crime-free capital. When people come here, they're not going to be mugged or shot or raped. And they're going to have a crime-free capital again. And it's going to be cleaner and better and safer than it ever was. And it's not going to take us too long. There's a new phenomena that is taking place with these violent, vicious lawyers that we have all over. They play the ref. You know what playing the ref is? Like the great Bobby Knight basketball coach. He'd scream and scream at the ref. He'd scream. I watched it. By the way, I love Bobby Knight because he endorsed me. And having Bobby Knight's endorsement in Indiana was an extremely good thing. A friend of mine said I was running in Indiana at the time. This was early on, 2016. And I was doing great. But friend came up and said, "You know Bobby Knight?" I said, "No, I don't, but I hear he was a tough cookie." He said, "Not only tough, he was beyond tough, but he's the most popular guy you can imagine." It turned out he wanted to endorse me. He called me about 2 years before. He said, "Sir, I'd like to endorse you." I said, "Is this really Bobby Knight?" He said, "It's me." I could tell it was Bobby Knight. He had been known for throwing the chair across the court and slapping a player. Can't do things like that, right? And the man that came in fired him. He was a new administrator for the college. That guy didn't last very long. They were like 14-0, and they fired Coach Knight. That was not good, but he had a little chip in his shoulder. But he loved Trump, and he came in and he said, "I'd love to endorse you." He said, "If you ever run, please call me." So he said, "You know Bobby Knight?" I said, "Well, I don't know," but he called me a couple of years ago. It was an amazing phenomenon. I took his number, and on each side of my desk in New York, I had stacks of paper, like nice and neat, but about 2 feet high each. And I said, I wrote his number down and I put it here 2 years ago. And I said, let me see if I can find it. It was almost like a miracle. I had other miracles that happened too. My ear is still throbbing. That was a miracle. That was a miracle also, wasn't it? That was a miracle also. Thank you. Thank you, Leo. Thank you. Thank you, my man. That was a miracle. Anyway, okay, that's very nice. Thank you. But so he said, Bobby Knight. So I said, I put his name down and I wrote it down. It's in one of these stacks. I lifted up. There would have to be 2,000-3,000 pages in each stack. I lifted it up, the first one, had no idea. And there was his name on a little card, Bobby Knight with his number. It was like incredible. I tell that story. It's so sad what they've done in 4 years to our country with the borders, with Afghanistan, the most embarrassing period of time, allowing the Russian situation, it was never going to happen with Ukraine, allowing October 7th to happen, would have never happened because under me, Iran was totally broke. They had no money. They weren't giving any money to Hamas or Hezbollah. It was totally broke. but allowing inflation. Look at what inflation's done to people, been so devastating. And now you see that, by the way, price of eggs is down 35% in the last week and a half. We're doing a good job. Brooke is doing a good job. Brooke Rollins and everybody.
Oh, they gonna get mad. Hey, Trump, you just made a lot of Democrats mad. Now they can't say nothing about the price of eggs. Interesting.
And inflation's down, interest rates are down, gasoline has come down to a level that we haven't seen in a long time. All things that we wanted to do, because then everything else is going to be coming down. We want it to come down. We want bacon to come down, and groceries, a term I used to use. It's sort of an old-fashioned term, but I used to use it on the campaign trail. Those last 90 perfect, beautiful days, we just hit it. And I want to thank Susie. You have done a great job, Susie Wiles. Great job, Susie. A big magazine just named her the most powerful woman in the world, and that's okay with me. She is the most powerful woman. You think about it, John, right? The most powerful woman in the world, but she's great. And we had a great 90 days. It was a perfect 90 days, and it was a great result. But we want to put that result to good use by doing a phenomenal job. And I want to tell you that Todd and Emil know this very well. We had an amazing judge in Florida, and her name is Eileen Cannon. And I didn't know her. I still don't know her. I don't believe I ever spoke to her, even during the trial. But I did appoint her, federal judge. And these fake lawyers, these horrible human beings, were hitting her so hard, public relations-wise. They were playing the ref. I don't think it's legal. I don't think it's legal. They might as well go out and just shout it in a courthouse. They were saying she was slow, she wasn't smart, she was totally biased, she loved Trump. I didn't know her, other than I saw her the couple of days that I was in court, and I thought her decorum was amazing. Anything bad they could say, though, they were saying about her, it was whatever they could say bad about a human being, all made up, because actually she was brilliant. She moved quickly. She was the absolute model of what a judge should be, and she was strong.
And you know, when egg prices are up, I just stop buying eggs. I'm like, just buy something else. That's what it is. Price too high, I ain't buying it.
Strong and tough.
It's not healthy.
And how do you get them to stop if you're a judge? How do you get them to stop with the playing the ref? Bobby Knight would play the ref. That's why I brought up the Bobby Knight story. He would play the ref. He'd scream at the ref. He'd scream so hard. Oh, boy, it was terrible, actually. And the people would come up, his assistant coaches would come up to play. Coach, don't do that. Don't do it. He said he's not going to change his tune, coach. He called it. He's not changing. I don't care. And he's screaming. That's when he threw the chair. He starts going crazy. And he said, no, he's not going to change this time, but he's going to change for the next play. And sure as hell he did. You know, Bobby, by the way, had the last...
Mendo and a subscriber said 707, I think. He said the oldest woman in the world. Oh, you said, yeah, just find different things to eat. Yeah. So the oldest woman in the world ate 1 or 2 eggs daily. I mean,
undefeated team.
I mean, there's like old people that smoke. You know what I mean? Like, so it depends, man. I think genetics have a lot to do with a lot of stuff.
Team in basketball. And relatively speaking, you know, he had that team. He always had a team. He never had that. Well, he had a couple of great players, obviously, some top NBA players, but very few relatively. He had a team, but he won the national championship 3 times, but he had the last undefeated team in basketball. And
I got to get up out of here. Shout out to everybody for subscribing. We got like 600 subscribers. Appreciate everybody. We will be back tomorrow. I think I'm going to run. You know what I've been thinking? Maybe just like go live for like 6 hours. What y'all think? You know what I mean? Multiple lives. So probably just go live. And just 6 hours, just rock out with y'all. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to everybody. Come rate, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think about that. Peace. I think YouTube don't want me to leave. They don't want me to leave, y'all. What y'all want me to stay? What's this? I tried to exit. It said no. Should we play some more?
He would play the rough and he would scream at him. He knew exactly what he was doing. They're doing the same thing. He said, no, he's not going to change now, but he's going to change for the next one. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to scare the hell.
Shout out to y'all. Let me try to